Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to another Walking Dead video. So I want to do another Q&A video here. Sorry, I didn't post this last week. I was just kind of busy and going through some stuff last week, but I am posting this Q&A video out right now, but I will be doing another one tomorrow. So if you do want to take part in these Q&As, definitely go follow the Discord. The link is in the description of this video. There is a Q&A channel there, and I usually do ask for questions. Just post your questions in there, and then I'll get to it by the following Wednesday. And yeah, I usually do this every single week here. So yeah, before we go any further, make sure to be a subscriber if you do want to get all my Walking Dead content like this. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast yet, definitely go do so. The podcast is called the Empty Minds Podcast. Episode 17 is out right now. We released it specifically for Halloween because the episodes usually do come out every single Monday, but we figured because it was Halloween, we were like, you know what, let's just release it on Halloween, just kind of, make a Halloween special episode kind of thing. So that's out right now. And yeah, I mean, episodes come out every single Monday, and they're available on Spotify and Apple Music, wherever you listen to podcasts, and as well as YouTube. So if you're interested, the link for the podcast will be in the description of this video. But let's get into the first question here. So Q&A, if The Walking Dead was to have ended before the series finale, when do you think would have been the best place to do it? The crew arriving at the gates of Alexandria, end of the Savior arc, Rick's exit, the actual series finale we got, or something else? That's a very interesting question. Well, a lot of people have different opinions on this. Like, them arriving to Alexandria is something that it almost makes sense in terms of just like this perfect little story, because it's the first, I guess, like 5-something seasons of a certain story, right? Where you just have, our characters surviving and a bunch of stuff happens, and then eventually they get to a safe place kind of thing, right? I guess that kind of works. I still think, though, that there was a lot of excitement with the Negan arc. I think that they messed it up because of that cliffhanger. It really messed up so much stuff. I really wonder how much Gimple regrets doing that, because, I mean, yeah, people do talk about it like it's the biggest cliffhanger ever, but like, it really like ruined the show in so many ways. Like, people stopped watching it so fast, and ever since then it's been going like downhill in terms of viewership. I'm not saying quality, obviously quality has picked up a lot, but just in terms of viewership, like, that cliffhanger really did hurt it a lot. And I know no matter what it was going to drop, it wasn't going to continue at the rate it was going at, but like, it dropped fast. Like, it was getting so many, like, millions, 14, 15 to 17 million viewers per episode, and immediately dropped to like 11, 12 to 8, and then 4 million by season 9. So like, that cliffhanger definitely hurt the show quite a bit. So ignoring the cliffhanger and just focusing on just like story stuff, I feel like the best part, I mean, not Rick's exit. Rick's exit definitely, I just don't think makes a lot of sense. It's honestly hard to kind of say, because like, the way they've handled every single part of the story in terms of the ending to every arc, they tease the future arc kind of thing. And the way that season 8 ends with the Savior arc, could you say that was the best way to end The Walking Dead? No, not really. Rick's exit, was that the best way to end The Walking Dead? No, because it teased that he went somewhere else. Like, that would have been the biggest cliffhanger ever, right? Them arriving to Alexandria honestly probably makes the most sense based off of that version of the story where it was just them surviving kind of thing, right? So, there's obviously a lot of exciting moments that happen after they get to Alexandria, but just focusing on that one part, that makes a lot of sense. So I'd have to say that. Besides that, I would have to say the series finale. Like, as much as I didn't like the Commonwealth arc, it almost made sense that, when you're looking at the show overall, they made it back to a sense of normalcy. And just to see them, reacting and dealing with some stuff with that. And, obviously how they ended it in terms of just how they set up the spinoffs, I feel like it ended kind of perfectly. So Q&A, do you think if Michonne dies and Rick lives, will we see Rick and Madison together? Of course, Madison would have to join the Rick and Michonne show. Well, no, I don't see that happening at all. I think if Michonne dies, I don't think Rick's gonna find someone else, really, in terms of like, if they did a story where like Rick was going to be around for 10 to 15 seasons of something, then they'll probably get around to doing something like that. But like, I don't see it in terms of just what the story is for Rick and Michonne. That's it. I think if something happened to Michonne, I think Rick he'd be on his own, I think, for the rest of his life. I think that's exactly where they would go with that. So Q&A, how do you feel about them killing off Fear the Walking Dead characters off screen? I've seen some debate about this, and I haven't talked about this yet. I've seen a lot of people talking about this and being upset. I kind of get it, as much as it does, it's unfortunate for the actors involved and stuff, because you're part of this story and whatever, and all of a sudden you're gone out of nowhere. It is unfortunate. It's one of those things where I'm like, it's just the way the showrunners have sort of handled the whole thing. And, Angela Kang sort of did the same thing as well with The Walking Dead. The cast got so big that so many of the characters had to be sort of ignored, because there was just too much to focus on. Like they needed to focus on the main story. And man, if you look at the final season, like they wrapped up so much stuff so fast. And I think they did a pretty good job with it. But like they have to ignore a lot of characters. And there's still characters where we're like, what happened to you kind of thing. And Fear the Walking Dead, you know, they explained it in that way. It was probably better, if anything, to just not explain it. Just don't kill the characters off. Just say they went to this place kind of thing, like the same way The Walking Dead handled it. This way, maybe you can just have them appear at some point in the future, just sort of expand the world a bit. But Q&A, who do you think should be the big series finale death? I guess you're referencing Fear the Walking Dead there. I would say, I think if you're going to kill off anybody, it's really, oh man, you know, it's honestly, it's one of those things where every single character now that's on the show, you kind of can't kill off. Like, I guess you could kill off Daniel or Strand. Those would be the two characters, because I'm just thinking, like, you can't kill off Madison. She just came back. If Alicia returned, you can't kill her off because she just came back for that episode and she just kind of left where you kind of left it up in the air where, you know, maybe she died or whatever. Besides them, the only other big characters are like Daniel and Strand. And so I'm like, I guess you would have to kill them. You can't kill Troy off, really. I guess you could, but that's not really a big death. Troy's not a big character. So out of the four characters, Madison, Alicia, if she does return, Daniel and Strand, it would have to be Daniel or Strand that you would kill off. So I don't know who you would choose, but that's sort of, you know, that's my guess right there. And I'm not including Dwight and Sherry because I don't think they're going to be in the final episode. Q&A, if Jadis dies, do you think Rick would be the one that kills her or Major General Beale? I think Major General Beale. And it's just because I don't think Rick's going to end up doing anything like that, because I just don't think it's in the character to do something like that. Though, it just depends on what, again, there's so much context to this that is missing. Like, we know that Jadis traded him away to the Civic Republic, but like, you know, I don't know what Rick's life has been like. And, you know, maybe he's been in contact with Jadis. Maybe he feels differently towards the situation because maybe he feels like, you know, if Jadis didn't save me, then I would have died kind of thing. So I'm kind of thankful that I'm alive. I mean, it's unfortunate that I'm here, but at least I'm still alive kind of thing, right? So I don't know how he feels in general, but Major General Beale, I could see killing her because Jadis could be like choosing to side with Rick here and there, or you know, giving him certain information and all that. And I could see him just not putting up with that. Q&A, do you see Al and Isabelle being written into The Ones Who Live? And if so, what role could you see them playing in the show? I just don't see it because I don't see the writers really, you know, caring, I guess, to introduce Fear the Walking Dead characters on that show. Like, I don't know, there's just something about, you know, this first season, and if they do a season 2 or 3 for The Ones Who Live, like, there's just something about these 6 episodes where I'm like, I think they just wanted to focus on Rick and Michonne, and I think that's really all they have in mind, you know, going forward if they were to do a season 2, because it's not set in stone that it is just one season. And every time I say this, somebody comments, no, that they've said it's a limited series, only 6 episodes, which I get, but a lot of people have referenced. There's been articles written where a lot of insiders have reached out and asked them, like, do you plan to do a season 2? And there's just sort of been no response. It's sort of up in the air right now. So I feel like right now it's just, here's 6 episodes, and you know, let's see how you enjoy the story here. And then at that point, we'll have to see just sort of where things end off, and if Andrew Lincoln and Denai Guerrero want to come back and do a season 2, right? I think there's probably been some discussions based off of, you know, where the story ends, and obviously they had to have talked about it, but I think they want to see where things are going to go kind of thing. So I just think right now it's just sort of one of those things where it's like, we just have to watch the show, see how it ends, and then we'll know sort of what's going on, right? So I think that's why I think for the first season, you know, if it is just the first season, I don't think they're going to introduce any Fear characters, but for season 2 and 3, maybe. I think it's possible, but it's kind of hard to say because I feel like Althea and Isabelle, I think they just ran away together, right? I don't remember how their story ended, but I'm pretty sure they just ran away together. So I don't think they would be at the Civic Republic. Q&A, this is not on The Ones Who Live, but I'm just curious. Have you ever thought about writing a story or your own like either comics, screenwriting, or a book? You know, I have thought about this, and I do actually have like an idea for like a short story. It is obviously an apocalyptic story, and I have certain characters written out, and I have just like the first I don't know if you would say pilot or episode idea. I do have it sort of written out, and like the characters involved and all of that. Like, I think it would be a really interesting story because the dynamic with the characters is so different from really anything with like a zombie genre. But in terms of how I would sort of put that into a story, that's sort of been the difficult part. Like, I'm like, do I write a book on it? That's kind of a lot. And like writing a book is like, I'm not saying I couldn't do it, but it would take a lot of my time, and I don't really have a lot of time right now. And so in terms of that, it's kind of difficult, you know, and I probably would prefer to do like a comic book kind of thing, but I would need to be in touch with like artists and stuff, and the artwork would need to be really good. So it's a lot of time and effort. And I just think that I'm not saying no to it. I would love to do it at some point in the future. Just as of now, I have ideas and stuff, but it's just, yeah, that's really just sort of where it's at right now. Q&A, do you think that at the end of The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, Rick and Michonne will be captured again, but now both of them? And at the post-credit scene, Morgan will show up, because I think Morgan needs to show up. That was his last words on Fear the Walking Dead, and he will find Rick no matter where he is. Like, I do agree with you. I think Morgan's going to find Rick no matter what. In terms of, you know, are they going to get captured again? It depends, because, again, Carol mentioned in that one scene of The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, that someone returned or someone came back kind of thing. So maybe that's, you know, referencing Morgan. I feel like out of all the characters, it makes sense that could be Morgan or even Dwight. And I guess we'll find out in this episode of Fear the Walking Dead, right? Carol could have sent Dwight, but we're just, you know, at this point, it is one of those things where they're just really being so secretive on what's happening with The Ones Who Live. So, you know, I think that in terms of them being captured again, or I guess Rick being captured and then this time Michonne's just with him, it's possible. If they're going to do a season 2, then I guess that does make a lot of sense. I could see that happening. Q&A, so far it seems the only way zombies are turned into variants is through the serum shot injected into them. If that's the case, how come at the end of World Beyond season 2, that lady was shot with a regular gun, died, and came back as a variant walker? I was under the impression that all zombies in France were going to be running zombies, but after season 1 of Daryl, we know that's not the case. They're injected/created. Same also goes for the walkers in season 11 in The Walking Dead when they were climbing. How did the variants get to America? I mean, I think the variants in season 11, like the ones that were climbing and stuff, those are just random variants. I don't think there's really any explanation for them. That's kind of separate. In terms of the variants in Daryl Dixon, yeah, I assumed that there was just going to be those variants around, and that's not really the case. It's not really how it's working out. Like, that one scientist that died in the World Beyond post-credit scene, she just died normally, but then she came back as a variant walker, which kind of made no sense, right? So when I look at that, I'm just thinking that she probably injected herself with that. There is something that the scientists there have sort of developed, and you know, maybe they just sort of believe in that kind of thing. Like, that's kind of what I'm assuming. I think that's probably, you know, something they're going to get into in season 2 or 3, because season 1 really introduced a lot of these ideas, but there's still so much that obviously they have to get into here in this show. Q&A, how do you think Michonne and Rick will reconnect? And how do you think their interaction will go? And will they, you know, just burst into happiness, or are they going to be like hiding? Or how do you think it's going to go? I would love to hear your take on this. Have a great day. Well, you have a great day too. I think it's going to be one of those things that is just absolutely emotional. At least I'm hoping so. Like, one of the best scenes ever is when Rick finds Carl and Lori, like, and that's season 1, episode 3. I think it's episode 3, or maybe episode 2. No, I think it's 3. Like, it's just honestly one of the most incredible scenes ever. When you see Rick just realize that Carl and Lori are right there, it's like the most insane thing ever. They all drop what they're doing and they all run towards each other. Like, I want it to be like that, where Rick is just doing whatever. Literally, he could just be like still killing walkers or just in this random scene, and then Michonne sort of walks in and Michonne looks and sees Rick, and they both just lock eyes, and it's one of those things where it's just, you get goosebumps, and they're like, what? Like, Michonne maybe sees Rick first because Michonne obviously came to this place, and I don't know, actually, you know what, I would prefer it to not be like that. I'd prefer them to almost see each other for the first time, like, if possible, at the same time. I don't know how that would go. I would want it to be more like that, not a situation where Michonne gets captured and then maybe Rick has to go and save her kind of thing. Or Michonne learns that Rick is in this one place and so she has to go and find him here. It would be actually kind of cool if, like, it is just kind of random, just like randomly in a field or somewhere at the Pacific Republic, they just kind of see each other. Like, I think that would honestly be kind of insane. So I would like that. Something that could mirror Rick finding Carl and Lori. I think that would be really awesome. Q&A, do you think we'll ever see how Madison and Troy survived? I think we are going to see that. I think the very final episodes could get into that, because there are some shots of, I don't know if we'll learn some stuff with Troy, but there are some shots of Madison, and it kind of seems like it's a backstory sort of thing. So I feel like they're gonna show us like this flashback as to how she survived. But I'm gonna leave it here. Definitely post all your thoughts down below. Thank you guys so much for all of these questions. Hope you guys all enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.